Hey everyone, welcome back to Unique Old Coins. Today, we're diving into a fascinating piece of American numismatic history, the 1969 Roosevelt dime. We'll take a look at why this coin is so significant, its design, and its value today, both in circulation and as a collector's item. So whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone curious about American coins, you're in the right place. First, let's set the stage for the Roosevelt dime. In 1946, the United States Mint introduced the Roosevelt dime in honor of the 32nd President of the United States, Franklin D. Roosevelt. Roosevelt had been instrumental in the foundation of the March of Dimes, which aimed to fight polio, a disease he himself struggled with throughout his life. Just a year after Roosevelt's passing, the dime was chosen as the coin to honor his legacy, and it's remained a part of American currency ever since. The Roosevelt dime has had a few variations over the years, from its original silver composition to the copper-nickel-clad variety introduced in 1965. Due to the rising cost of silver, the 1969 Roosevelt dime is a product of this era, made entirely of a copper core with a nickel coating, which is what we see in all dimes today. Now, let's take a closer look at. The design features Roosevelt's profile on the obverse side, facing left. On the reverse side, you'll see a torch in the center, symbolizing liberty, with an olive branch on the left representing peace, and an oak branch on the right symbolizing strength. The design, crafted by sculptor John R. Sinnock, is simple yet powerful, emphasizing the ideals that Roosevelt championed. While earlier dimes were made of 90% silver, by 1969 the composition had changed to a clad mix of 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel. This change in materials helped keep the dime affordable for mass production and circulation, even as the cost of silver was on the rise. If you flip the coin over, you might notice a small letter on the reverse side, right next to the torch. This is the mint mark, which tells us where the coin was produced. For 1969, the Roosevelt dime was minted in two locations, Philadelphia and Denver. The Philadelphia Mint produced around 145 million Roosevelt dimes in 1969, while the Denver Mint produced approximately 563 million. So you're likely to come across these dimes even today, as they were minted in substantial quantities. So, what is the value of a 1969 Roosevelt dime in circulation today, since these coins are still quite common? You have a circulated 1969 dime with noticeable wear and tear. It's unlikely to be worth more than its face value. But if you're looking at higher grades, the story changes. For collectors, condition is everything. A 1969 Roosevelt dime in mint state condition, meaning it shows no signs of wear, can be more valuable. Typically, uncirculated dimes from 1969 might range from around $1 to $10, depending on their grading. Now, let's talk about something every coin collector loves: errors and variations. While the 1969 Roosevelt dime is generally common, certain error coins from this year can be quite valuable. Look out for dimes with double dies, especially on the obverse side where Roosevelt's profile is. These coins can be worth anywhere from $20 to several $100s, depending on the error's rarity and visibility. So, to wrap it up, the 1969 Roosevelt dime is a small but significant piece of American coinage history. While it might not be worth a fortune in circulated condition, it holds a lot of historical value, especially for collectors who appreciate its backstory and design. And who knows, if you have an error coin from 1969, you might just have a hidden treasure on your hands. If you've ever taken a closer look at your pocket change, you might have come across a 1969 Roosevelt dime. You may have wondered, is it valuable? Why is this particular dime worth looking at? Let's go back in time and take a closer look. The Roosevelt dime has an interesting backstory. Introduced in 1946, it was designed to honor the 32nd President of the United States, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. His leadership during the Great Depression and World War II left a lasting legacy, but it was his support for the March of Dimes, an organization dedicated to fighting polio, that ultimately connected him to this coin. The Roosevelt dime was initially minted with a high silver content, but in 1965, the U.S. Mint shifted to a new composition to save costs. From 1965 onward, the Roosevelt dimes were made with a copper-nickel-clad composition. So the 1969 Roosevelt dime we're talking about today is made from a mixture of copper and nickel. It isn't silver, but it still holds value to collectors for several reasons. Alright, let's break down the design of the 1969 Roosevelt dime. The coin's obverse, or the front side, features a left-facing portrait of Franklin Roosevelt. You'll notice the word liberty prominently to the left, and Roosevelt's famous quote, "In God we trust," is inscribed on the lower left, near the neck. The year 1969 is right at the bottom. Now, If you flip it over to the reverse side, you'll see a torch in the center, symbolizing freedom. On either side of the torch, there's an olive branch, which stands for peace, and an oak branch for strength and independence. Above this design is the motto E pluribus unum, which translates to out of many. This motto is an important part of American culture. Representing unity.in circulated condition, these dimes typically don't have a lot of value beyond face value, especially if they show a lot of wear. However, certain conditions and errors can make them more interesting to collectors, and proof coins from the San Francisco Mint are highly sought after. Now, here's where things get interesting. SFM 1969 Roosevelt dimes have errors, and these can increase the coin's value significantly. Common errors include doubled die strikes, off-center strikes, and misaligned dies. In particular, a 1969 dime with a noticeable error can fetch anywhere from a few dollars to even. About circulated versus uncirculated condition. A standard circulated 1969 Roosevelt dime is typically worth about 10 to 20 cents in fair condition. But if you find one in mint condition or uncirculated, it could be worth closer to $1 or more. Coins with errors or those graded by professional grading services can be worth more to collectors, especially if they're in pristine condition. Collecting Roosevelt dimes is popular for both new and seasoned collectors because it's an affordable way to explore American coinage. Many collectors start by finding coins in circulation and then look to fill out their collections with higher grade versions or coins from each mint year. The 1969 dime is part of a series that's fairly easy to complete, so if you're interested in collecting, you can start by checking your pocket change and then branch out to coin shops or online marketplaces. Just remember, condition is key. Coins with minimal wear or those certified by a professional grading service are usually more valuable. So, there you have it. The 1969 Roosevelt dime might not be worth a fortune, but it's a fascinating piece of history that's still circulating today. From its connection to a former president to the small chance of finding. The 1992 Roosevelt dime. Now, while most people overlook the dime, there's more to this tiny coin than meets the eye. Whether you're just starting out in the world of coin collecting or you're a seasoned pro, understanding the nuances of a seemingly ordinary coin can make all the difference. So let's get started with the story behind the Roosevelt dime, its 1992 edition, and what you need to know about its value in circulation today. Let's start with a little history. The Roosevelt dime first came into circulation in 1946, just after World War II. The design was inspired by President Franklin D. Roosevelt, the only U.S. president to serve 4 terms. He led the nation through the Great Depression and most of WWII, and he was an instrumental figure in the development of the March of Dimes, a movement to combat polio, a disease that Roosevelt himself struggled with. His profile on the dime was a tribute to his contributions to public health. And it replaced the previous design, the Mercury dime, which had been in use from 1916 to 1945. The design you see on this 1992 Roosevelt dime is essentially unchanged since 1946, except for a few subtle modifications. So, what makes the 1992 Roosevelt dime interesting? First, let's go over its features. The dime is 17.91 millimeters in diameter and weighs about 2.27 grams. It's composed of 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel, giving it a distinctive silver-like finish without actually being silver. So, what's the value of a 1992 Roosevelt dime in circulation today? Most circulated 1992 dimes have a value of, you guessed it, around 10 cents. But for collectors, condition is everything. Let's break down a few scenarios. Now, there are a few rare exceptions. Sometimes small minting errors like die cracks, misaligned dies, or other striking errors can significantly increase the value. Collectors often pay more for these rare error coins because they're considered unique. A 1992 dime with an unusual error might go for several dollars, and in rare cases, a few hundred if the error is dramatic enough. Here are a few tips for spotting valuable 1992 dimes in your collection. First, always check the coin's overall condition. Look for luster, which is a shiny, reflective surface that's lost over time in circulation. Next, check for any minting errors. Sometimes even small, barely noticeable errors can make a big difference. And if you do find a pristine or error dime, make sure to store it properly. Coins can easily lose value if they get scratched or tarnished. Keeping them in coin sleeves, holders, or albums will help preserve their value for years to come. So, is it worth keeping your 1992 dimes? If it's just a regular circulated dime, probably not, unless it has sentimental value. But if you find a high-grade, uncirculated, or error coin, then it might be worth adding to your collection or even getting it graded by a professional to confirm its value. The Roosevelt dime first entered circulation in 1946. It was created to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had passed away just a year earlier in 1945. Roosevelt was a beloved president, known for leading the United States through the Great Depression and most of World War II. His work with the March of Dimes Foundation also made him a fitting choice for the 10-cent coin. The dime, of course, was symbolic as Roosevelt was instrumental in the fight against polio, a disease that he himself battled. The March of Dimes campaign, which funded polio research, was partially responsible for inspiring this tribute. The design of the Roosevelt dime has remained fairly consistent over the years. The obverse, or head side, features a profile portrait of Roosevelt, designed by John R. Sinek, the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint at the time. You'll notice the inscription Liberty, along with the motto In God We Trust on the left side, and the date on the right. Now, on the reverse side, we have a torch in the center, symbolizing liberty. It's flanked by an olive branch on the left, representing peace, and an oak branch on the right, symbolizing strength and independence. Above, you'll see the words United States of America with E pluribus unum, a Latin phrase meaning out of many, one E, written just below the torch. In 1992, the U.S. Mint produced dimes in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The total mintage was around 1.6 billion for both the Philadelphia and Denver mint versions. This high mintage means that the 1992 Roosevelt dime is quite common in circulated condition, and many of us have probably come across one without even realizing it. What is a 1992 Roosevelt dime worth in circulated condition? Well, in most cases, circulated Roosevelt dimes from 1992 won't fetch much more than face value, which is 10 cents. Because they were mass-produced, they are extremely common. However, if your 1992 dime is in exceptional condition, meaning it has minimal wear and has retained its luster, you might get between 50 cents to $1 from collectors. For a coin in uncirculated or mint state condition. Prices can range from $1 to $5 depending on the grade and demand. Proof versions from the San Francisco Mint can also hold slightly higher value if they're still in pristine condition. Now, here's something to keep an eye out for. Like many U.S. coins, the 1992 Roosevelt dime has some error varieties that are sought after by collectors. One example is the misaligned die error, where one side of the coin isn't struck in perfect alignment. These errors can slightly increase the coin's value, usually to around a few dollars depending on the severity. Another rare find is a double die error, where the coin's design appears to have been struck twice. Although this is rare in the 1992 Roosevelt dime series, if you do come across one, it could be worth significantly more. If you're trying to identify the condition of your 1992 Roosevelt dime, here are a few tips. Coins in circulated condition generally show signs of wear on Roosevelt's face and the lettering. Look closely at the torch and branches on the reverse side as well. Well-worn coins will have less definition in these areas. There you have it. The 1992 Roosevelt dime might be a humble coin, but it has a lot of history behind it. And while most are only worth face value, you never know what treasures you might find if you start looking closely at your spare change. 1997 Roosevelt dime, a coin you've probably come across in your daily life. But have you ever wondered if that dime in your pocket might be worth more than just 10 cents? Could it hold a little extra value? First, let's set the scene. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946 in honor of Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States. His image on the dime was chosen due to his efforts in founding the March of Dimes, an organization dedicated to fighting polio. From 1946 onward, the Roosevelt dime has been a symbol of his legacy and has remained largely unchanged. Now, let's talk about the specific features of the 1997 Roosevelt dime. Like all modern dimes, it has a smooth edge and is made from a copper-nickel alloy. The coin features Roosevelt's profile on the obverse side, designed by sculptor John R. Sinek. You'll notice the year 1997, along with the mint mark, which indicates where the coin was produced. So, what's the circulation value of a 1997 Roosevelt dime? Well, as you probably guessed, for most dimes in good circulated condition, the value remains 10 cents. However, if you have a mint condition coin, especially one with a high grade from a grading service, it can be worth slightly more to collectors. For instance, a 1997 Roosevelt dime with engraved could fetch around 50 cents to $1, depending on demand. One interesting factor that can increase a coin's value is if it has any unique errors or variations. Sometimes dimes might have misprints or minting errors such as off-center strikes or doubling in the design. These can be rare and interesting to collectors, and may raise a dime's value to several dollars or more, depending on the rarity of the error.so. You may be wondering, why would anyone want to collect such a common coin? Well, coin collecting isn't just about the rare finds, it's about the story and significance behind each coin. A simple 1997 Roosevelt dime is a snapshot of American history. When you hold a Roosevelt dime, you're holding a piece of President Roosevelt's legacy, as well as a symbol of the U.S. Mint's long-standing tradition. So next time you're sifting through your change, take a closer look. While your 1997 Roosevelt dime might just be worth face value, there's always a chance it could hold a little more. And if not, you're still holding on to a piece of American history. The Roosevelt dime, first introduced in 1946. History. Designed to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, it was created following his death in 1945. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States, was an iconic leader and played a major role in establishing the March of Dimes, a fundraising organization to combat polio, which he himself suffered from. Hence, the choice to place his image on the dime was both meaningful and fitting. Now, let's talk about the design of the dime. The obverse, or head side, features a left-facing portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt. Designed by sculptor John R. Sinnock, this side of the coin includes the words "Liberty," the phrase "In God We Trust," and the year 1997 just below Roosevelt's neck. It also has the mint mark indicating the location where it was struck, which could be P for Philadelphia or D for Denver. Flipping the coin over, you'll see the reverse, or tail side. This design also comes from Sinnock, showcasing a torch in the center, symbolizing freedom. To its left is an olive branch representing peace, and to the right is an oak branch representing strength and independence. The words United States of America arc along the top, and the phrase "e pluribus unum," which means out of many, one is also present. At the Philadelphia and Denver mints combined, over 2.1 billion dimes were minted. That's a huge number, which is one reason why the 1997 dime is relatively common and easily found in circulation. Most of these dimes are struck from a blend of copper and nickel, also known as clad coinage, giving them durability but not much intrinsic metal value. But, as with any coin, condition plays a huge role in determining its worth to collectors. The vast majority of these 1997 Roosevelt dimes are still in circulated condition, meaning they've been used, handled, and likely have some signs of wear. So, what is a 1997 Roosevelt dime worth in circulated condition? Well, for most of us, the answer is simple: 10 cents. That's right, the face value. Since so many of these dimes were made, and they're not composed of silver or another precious metal, they generally don't hold much value beyond that. But there are a few exceptions. For instance, some circulated 1997 dimes may have unique error varieties, such as doubled dies or off-center strikes. If you find one of these errors, the value can range from a few dollars to even $50 or more, depending on the rarity and type of error. These errors are pretty rare, so finding one can be a bit of a few fun facts before we wrap up. Did you know that the Roosevelt dime is the only American coin to remain relatively unchanged in design since its first issue? It's also one of the few coins where the honoree wasn't depicted facing the viewer directly. Instead, Roosevelt is shown in profile, symbolizing both respect and humility. In the end, the 1997 Roosevelt dime is a piece of history and a reminder of a remarkable leader who made a lasting impact on American society. While it may only be worth face value for most of us, it's a great coin to add to your collection, especially if you're working on a date set of Roosevelt dimes. 2016 Roosevelt dime. We're going to explore its history, features, and see if it has any special value beyond the face amount of just one dime. So if you're a coin collector or just curious about what's in your pocket, keep watching to find out more about this little but historically significant coin. The Roosevelt dime was introduced back in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who played a massive role in leading the United States through the Great Depression and World War II. His close association with the March of Dimes, a campaign dedicated to fighting polio, was the primary reason for choosing Roosevelt's portrait for the dime. The U.S. Mint has been producing the Roosevelt dime continuously since then, with only minor changes. By the time we got to 2016, the Roosevelt dime had already seen decades of circulation, making it one of the most iconic American coins in existence. Now, let's focus on the 2016 Roosevelt dime specifically. On the front, or obverse, you'll see a portrait of President Roosevelt facing left. Above his head is the word liberty, and next to his face is the motto "In God We Trust." Below his neck is the year 2016. That's how you know you're holding a coin minted that year. On the back, or reverse, you'll see an olive branch, a torch, and an oak branch. This design symbolizes peace, liberty, and strength. And of course, there's the motto E pluribus unum, which means out of many, one symbolizing the unity of the United States. One important thing to note about dimes minted after 1964, including the 2016 Roosevelt dime, is that they are no longer made of silver. Instead, they're composed of a blend of copper and nickel, commonly called a clad coin. While earlier dimes had 90% silver content, today's dimes don't carry the same intrinsic metal value. All right, now on to the question everyone is here for: does the 2016 Roosevelt dime have any added value? Well, the short answer is usually no. It's generally worth 10 cents, just like it's sometimes errors occur during the minting process, creating unique variations that collectors love. For example, an off-center strike, a double die error, or a coin struck on a different planchet could make your 2016 Roosevelt dime worth significantly more. Error coins vary greatly in price depending on the based on mint marks alone. It's always a good habit to check them. You never know when you'll come across an error or something out of the ordinary. Consider buying uncirculated rolls if you want a better chance of finding high-grade coins. Try buying rolls of uncirculated 2016 dimes from a dealer. These coins are more likely to be in pristine condition and might yield a higher grade. So, to wrap it all up, the 2016 Roosevelt dime is generally worth its face value of 10 cents, especially if it's circulated. But if you happen to find one in mint condition or with an interesting error, it might be worth more. The joy of coin collecting often lies in the hunt, so keep your eyes peeled. You never know what treasures you'll find. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to channel name for more coin collecting content, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Let me know in the comments if you have any interesting finds or if you'd like me to cover any other coins. Until next time, happy hunting.